It went from like poker player to like coding to data science, and at one point I was running 16 billion page views a month for the world's largest Japanese adult website. So just porn, basically. Wow, did I leave that to expose all that time? Remote working, digital nomadism, freelancing, all buzzwords, all ways to potentially change your life for the better or worse, depending on who you are and what you're doing. This week, I'm going to Berlin. I'm going to visit my friend Vera. She just wrote a book, and I'm in that book, and I'm going to go speak at her event. It's going to be fun. You're going to learn a lot. Enjoy. We're staying at the Marriott. We're getting a good discount because basically I bought this woman's employee pass. Instead of 150 euros a night, I get it for 60 euros a night. That's what I call winning. And now from Alabama's son.
Yeah. Super stoked. You're part of this, no, honestly. Without you, you were one of the key protagonists to explain how we still have the power against the digital world platforms. Because I found your case really inspiring, how you defended yourself against Upwork. And I wanted you in the book. And I do remember when I Googled you, your website on Facebook had the philosophers. And one of the key philosophers in this book is Heraclitus, and you connected with him as well. And and that's why I believe you've done a tremendous job.
Heraclitus is the boy.
Yeah, he's the homeboy, and therefore, thanks so much for being part of it. You're part of the flow generation.
Look, I love the designs here, honestly.
Isn't it awesome?
You can actually see like the waves and the flow.
Yes, I know. I mean, when did we speak? That was probably a year ago.
Yeah, I mean, what are your next steps actually? Like, you're gonna launch it here?
Yeah, well, today it's pretty much a soft launch. It's just, for me, it's honestly, and I'm glad you're here because it's more a celebration to finally put a physical end to this long journey.
You told me, and it's like $60 to come here. I was like, okay, like let's do it, let's do it.
It really felt like the book had developed a life of its own. It just guided us to the right people who should be part of it. That's how it felt. I'm so glad we're on the same page.
We just arrived at the venue. It's pretty fucking cool, to be honest.
So we've written this book together, but the people you're seeing here have been part of the book as well. We're telling their stories. SHAD and he is someone who has studied philosophy in the UK, then went on different career paths, ended up as a digital nomad in Bali and in Kiev. Founded his own marketing and growth hacking agency, I guess.
Hello, everyone. Also a lot of roles as well, I guess a job juggler. So it started off, the first job I actually got paid for was to train as an officer in the British Army, which I did for 2 years, but I was terrible at it because I hated the heights. And then I wanted to make money because I had no money, because I ran away from home, which was also a terrible idea. So I decided to play professional poker, which was also a terrible idea, but I was quite good at it. And I decided to drop out of university and buy a one-way ticket to Bangkok to play professional poker, which was a great idea. Essentially, I wanted it all, right? I wanted like the money and like the fame and the lifestyle and the whole digital nomad thing, and I did it. I went to Chiang Mai, I went to Bali, I was living a life, I thought it was hot shit. And I found it to be like a trade-off. So I would adapt by trading off my social hours and my hours with my friends and my family and working on languages and things to learn with working to create value for myself, money, right? And I would build an agency. So I would stop bullshitting, I would build an agency and spend 18 hours a day for 12 months building an agency, and it was a success. And at some point, I remember I was in Davos in Switzerland speaking at the World Economic Forum next to Vladimir Klitschko. It just completely peaked. And then it went completely down because I realized that everything I had worked towards, all of this stuff, all of this adaptation and job juggling, I wasn't happy like underneath. So I had everything I wanted, and then I became like very depressed. And so now, about 4 months ago, I hired this guy off the camera, and everything I had learned in my life was around maths and logic and critical thinking and, you know, stoicism and stuff like this. And so I completely swapped it, and now I do like improv comedy courses, and I'm going to take singing lessons, and I'm going to learn how to dance, and I'm terrible at all of it. But it's like really interesting, and it makes me no money, but like I'm the happiest I've ever been.
Is it a case of redefining what success means?
Well, that's pretty deep, but I would argue so. I think a lot of people value the metrics around like GDP and economic growth and like what value you provide, but I think a lot more people now are starting to value happiness as a metric over just economic value output. And I think we should, and ourselves, value our own happiness over our own value. But I think the majority of people in this room either subconsciously or consciously value their work value output and what they're achieving to their happiness. Yesterday was pretty cool because we met someone that we hadn't ever met in real life. I'd only ever spoken to over email, which is always a weird encounter when you've only ever met someone online and you meet them in person for the first time. It's quite interesting actually. And then we ended up at Microsoft Berlin, and it went actually really well. Not a single person left. Everyone seemed to enjoy it. There was lots of value. We met lots of cool people. We had some kebabs. So right now, we're about to meet the boy Max, my friend from Kiev, and he's actually in Berlin, visiting, seeing some techno and stuff like this. The reason why we're such good friends is because we share a similar business together. We're both unemployed, so we basically just eat food and smoke weed and talk shit all day. And we're about to meet him for breakfast. He wants to meet at Golster Park because he needs to buy some drugs. Apparently he ran out of weed, and this is a good place to buy drugs. So, scrambled eggs and weed. Sounds good to me.
What's up? Hey, dude.
It's 3 eggs in each scrambled egg, so it's 6 eggs. Okay, so 3 with bacon and 3 with ghost cheese.
I think.
Yeah. Dankeschön. So we got some special scrambled eggs. Max saw them on TripAdvisor. We got ghost cheese, bacon, honey. Oh man, it's fucking good.
I'm just trying bread and it's so delicious.
We're at the Bastards. It's literally called the Bastards. That's right. So basically, I see a lot of people running, and they run like completely the wrong way. But I took like a few running classes with a running coach in Phuket, and it's very easy. So this is how you run. First, you're always like falling forwards, and you need to relax your whole body. So you're using the least amount of energy as possible. This is for our food blog, Max. It tastes like health, you know. It's like kind of not so good, but also kind of good. It just tastes like health. How do you describe health tasting, George?
Nutritional and green.
Yes. Food tour. Okay, Google. Top 10 best restaurants next to me. You see this shit, George? Google gave me the top 10 best rated, both by distance and proximity and rating, and delivered it straight to my phone. All I did was speak to it. Food tour. Nice. So one of the best things I like about actually just being a remote worker and having the luxury is we can carve out any time of the day to eat basically wherever we want. And it's such a luxury in life that I never really understood before I had the opportunity to actually experience it. And so now like every meal is like incredible. I look forward to it, and I'm very grateful for like this social process that is just eating food normally. That's what I have to say on it, but it's just one of the unique, nuanced things that you really learn to love and respect once you have complete independence over your time and your capital. Cool. That's a pretty nice car. So in Berlin, everyone seems to think that remote working is basically like being a programmer and working online or something like this. Watch out, George. And I think that's like one of the biggest misconceptions, really, is that you have to be a programmer, you have to be highly technical, and you have to be willing to essentially spend all of your hours online working abroad to get to that kind of remote work, freelance, digital nomad lifestyle. But of course, we know that isn't really true. And from my experience, after 5 years of doing this, all of my friends that are thriving the most are just the ones who set out with the lifestyle, the kind of dream of having a lot of freedom and extra capital and a lot more fun, and not so much with a job-specific or industry-specific target. And I think that's really the benefit. And if I think of my friends who are thriving the most, they're all doing like e-commerce or marketing or their own kind of business, you know. And when I started, I was the one hustling. I went into freelancing first. So I was on Upwork, grinding all the time, applying for jobs, and this kind of way, you're an accountant, you're your own CEO, you're doing all the sales, you're the whole shebang, and it's really difficult, it's very limiting, and it kind of just holds you back, right? It's a very soul-destroying process. There's lots more ways to live, and I think people are only starting to find these out right now. And one of the most obvious things to me is that people never really give themselves a chance to actually figure it out, because of this very special thing called geo-arbitrage. It's this easy principle to get your head around. Basically, you try and make money from a country that has a very high cost of living, or even a city, for example, Oslo in Norway or San Francisco in California, and then you go and live in a country with a really low cost of living. For example, Chiang Mai in Thailand or Kiev in Ukraine are some famous ones. And what that essentially allows is huge purchasing power and a massive increase in the quality of life. And it allows you to play around with these variables. It allows you to work a lot less to earn a lot more purchasing power. And I think this is what a lot of people are missing, and it's what a lot of people are missing at the conference and just around these topics in general. What's interesting to me is that I think a lot of people look towards this kind of a lifestyle because they see it on Instagram or they see it in the news and it just seems so attractive. But what they don't see is the nuances. They don't see the fact that they are 100% dependent on themselves for their income, meaning if they're not going out every single day and hustling, they're not actually going to be making any money, right? And that's a lot of pressure to have on yourself, on top of all the things such as actually closing the sales, chasing up for the clients to get the money, constantly applying and looking for new clients, your own portfolio, building your own personal brand, your own image. It's all really hard, and people don't take this into account. And another thing people don't take into account is the fact that when you do like freelancing or remote work or anything like this, what you're really doing is just replacing one way of creating value, i.e. income for yourself, with another way of creating income for yourself. But you're just saying that it's way better to somehow work for yourself and be dependent on yourself rather than working for someone else. I think that's just really something to do with like a person's ego or what they think their life should be like or what they think they should deserve, when in reality they're not looking at the hard facts of what is going to make them happiest. Like truly, what is going to make them happiest? And the answer always comes down to a few very simple things, which is your work-life balance, how much enjoyment you get out of your work, and how you utilize your excess capital. Meaning, what do you do with the excess capital to increase the value of happiness in your life, spending it time with your friends and relationships and things like this. And I think that's what people think they're going to get when they see digital nomadism, right? When you're traveling across the world, swimming in beautiful beaches, experiencing all these amazing things, that's what people think they're going to get. When in reality, they get to Thailand and they're working 8-hour days again, 9-hour days, 10-hour days, because now they're 100% dependent on themselves for their income. And this is a much harder task. All right, how do you line up So I really hope you enjoyed this video. It's kind of the first in our new series that we've been working on for basically the last 4 months. It's all culminated in what you see now. So I really hope you like it. I do. The main kind of thing that we're trying to push with this series is the concept of molding the world around you. The idea that you can manifest or you can manipulate circumstances around you to essentially do and get what you want, to get the most out of life. And when people see this, they almost don't believe it. And so what we decided to do on this channel is essentially grow two things from complete scratch. The first is a business. We want to take a business from 0 to $1 million in recurring revenue as fast as possible, showing every single step from ground zero, meaning the formulation, the ideation, the supply chain, all the way to the marketing and the customer service, really showing how to build this from scratch. And the second is a little bit harder. The second is actually engineering fame. So for the last 3 years, I've been super into music, especially techno, tech house. And I love the feeling that I get when I go to these events. And I would love to be able to share this with other people and my friends, and perhaps even one day throw my own events. This just sounds awesome to me. And so I've set myself a goal of playing in front of at least 1,000 people, playing a DJ set in front of at least 1,000 people. And I think that's quite difficult to do, but I think it's very much possible. And I hope to show it step by step on how I actually achieved that in real life. There's no faking it here, and welcome. If it's cool for you, please consider subscribing. It's very awkward for me to say that, but it's also very validating if you do subscribe. And I hope you enjoy and get value from the content. Cool, in a bit.